Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Andre and I'm your bookworm. And today we don't have a book review, we have a book chat, and we're going to chat about upcoming releases of authors that I have read before and am kind of excited to read or potentially put on my TBR. So let's get on with it. I mean, who isn't always excited when an author that they've read and enjoyed is releasing a new book? So this video is pretty much for all of us to start getting excited about these upcoming books. Some of them hopefully you've heard about, and if you haven't, maybe you'll get interested enough to start reading that author before that book gets released. So just as a reminder, this will be for the books being released on the first half, 26, because there's not much information about books after that, so we'll stick to the first half. Maybe I'll do another video like this for the second half once we get closer to the dates. But this will also be of books from authors that I have read. Some of them I haven't ever reviewed here on the channel. Some I think I might not even have mentioned them here on the channel, but I will mention, and this way we get to know more authors and books that I have read and I find exciting. All right, let's start off with the books that are closest to being released, and this video is being recorded mid or towards the late January, but the books are being released closest are in February. And we're starting off with Pretenders to the Throne God by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, if you followed me here on the channel for a while, you know that Adrian Tchaikovsky is a staple here on the channel. I have read several books of his. We can start with this trilogy here in the corner, which are the Children of Time, Children of Ruin, Children of Memory. And I've also read a few of his Shadows of the Apt series, 5 books, which you can't really see, but they're on this side. And they're his debut fantasy series. Now, I don't have any reviews for the sci-fi trilogy, which he is very famous for, but I have reviews for every single one of the fantasy books here on the channel. You can check them out, see what I think, and maybe you'll get curious enough to read it if you haven't tried already. I'll just say his fantasy books are quite different from his science fiction books, although they all have one characteristic in common, which is the presence of insects. But so what do we have to say about this book in specific, about Pretenders to the Throne God? It comes out on February 12th and is part of a 5-book series. This is actually book number 4. The series in itself is called The Tyrant Philosophers, and you may have heard it due to the first book, which is called City of Last Chances. If that rings a bell, well, this is the 4th book being released for that specific series. And now it's a part where why am I interested on the release of a 4th book of a series that I have never started? Well, Adrian Tchaikovsky is an interesting author for me because I really enjoy what he did in his science fiction series, but his fantasy series has had a lot of ups and downs, and I am yet to finish the whole series. I'm halfway. But so this kind of makes me get in between because on one side, I find some of his works really good. On another side, I find them average. So I kind of want to see how he deals with another fantasy world and if it becomes better, especially because it was written a lot of time after he wrote his Shadows of the Apt series. So maybe his writing matured, he became more, I don't know, better with his plot and with his writing style and all of the other categories. And so this has more potential to be a really good fantasy series and for me to love it as much as I love the Children of Time. And besides, if it's a 5-book series, I think it's a good length because I can invest 5 books. If it was another 10-book series, I might not. And besides, if it's a 5-book series, the 4th one is being published, it must have had some success. Otherwise, I don't know if they would be able to continue publishing it so far. And the other thing I need to mention as well is that the scores on Goodreads for this series seem to be quite decent. I mean, the first one has a bit of issues, but after that, the scores go beyond the 4. Some of them get close to 4.5, which is really good. So that gets me a bit excited to maybe start reading this series this year. And so, okay, that was the first book. Let's dive into science fiction for our second book. Although we are not diving into another author, we're sticking with Adrian Tchaikovsky because the book we're talking about is actually the 4th one of that series, and that is called Children of Strife. Yeah, that was kind of a surprise because initially when I read these books, there were only 2, and then they became a trilogy, and now they're becoming a tetralogy. So it seems like this series just kind of keeps expanding unexpectedly, and it kind of is okay because the books are kind of standalones in a universe that is all connect through a streamlined story, but they are very isolated, the stories themselves. So it's not like you can read book 3 before reading book 1. You do have to read in order, but the stories are isolated. Like I mentioned, I like this series quite a bit. I thought the first one was phenomenal. Second one was still original, quite good. Third one was a bit shaky. I thought it had some really cool concepts, but they might not have been delivered the best, if that makes any sense. But I'm still curious to see what Adrian Tchaikovsky brings for this 4th book and where his imagination goes, because this guy has a lot of imagination. And the other thing about this series, and also a bit about Shadows of the Apt, is he is good with his biology. At least I can give him that. Because I will always keep an eye on if the authors go for biology themes in the book, and I think Adrian Tchaikovsky was very good, especially with Children of Time. I think he was excellent in terms of biology. I mean, I'm not an expert in spiders per se, but it sounded all very good. So that always gets a few points. Now, staying in the science fiction realm, but jumping into another author, which is an author I've read, but I haven't mentioned that much here on the channel, and that author is James S. A. Corey. That's right, these authors, which are actually two authors with a pseudonym, they're releasing a book on the 14th of April. And I forgot to say that Children of Strife comes out on the 19th of March. But so what comes out in April 14th, written by James S. A. Corey, it's called The Faith of the Beasts. For the ones that don't know who James S. A. Corey is, basically, like I said, two authors together that have written The Expanse, which are these books here, and I have read them. I haven't reviewed here on the channel. That was pre-channel reading, but they were okay. I enjoyed the TV series that got adapted from these books, and I actually read these books because of the series. And I think some of the books, again, potential, but some of the other ones towards the end, I thought they were a bit shaky again. I don't think they delivered the best they could, but some characters are really amazing, like Avasarala. I really love her. But anyways, we're not talking about The Expanse. Let's get to The Fate of the Beasts. This book is the second book in a trilogy, or at least I think it's a planned trilogy, called The Captive's War. And the first book, which you might know, is called The Mercy of Gods. And so this case is another case of like, I've read The Expanse. Some of the books were good, some of the books were less good, and so I don't have yet a defined opinion about James S. A. Corey as an author. And what best way to try to dispel those doubts by reading more books by them and figuring out if that was just one story that they didn't nail it the best they could, or if it's just their style and their style doesn't vibe with me. And because the series is not that long, supposed to be a trilogy, then much of an investment, really. You can just read those three and be done. But okay, now let's leave a bit science fiction, let's go back to fantasy. And we are revisiting T.J. Klune, who's an author that has been read and reviewed here on the channel. And they are releasing We Burn So Bright. Fans of T.J. Klune and of the channel know that I've read two books from them. One is The Last House in the Cerulean Sea, and the other one is Under the Whispering. I have reviews here on the channel. You can check them out through the thumbnails or the cards up above. And I thought both books were decent. They had a lot of cozy and a lot of feels into them. They were very nice reads. They weren't like revolutionary, but I really enjoyed reading them. They're good palate cleansers to just get you out of a slump. They're quick reads, so they have all of those benefits. Now, We Burn So Bright does not seem to shy away from the feels part of these books. And coming out on the 28th of April, it says that it follows a queer couple on their end-of-the-world road trip. So yeah, I would say get your tissues ready because this might be a tear, like just based on this elevator pitch. And the great thing about this book is it's not a series, it's just a standalone book. You don't have to invest much commitment into it. You can just read this one, be done, and jump into another thing that you're curious to read. So that's one of the reasons why I'm curious to read it, even though I have a lot of other TJ Klune books to read because I've been recommended a lot of them and everyone says that they're really good. Okay, we had a bit of fantasy, now let's go back to science fiction. But this time around, it's from an author that you might not think it would be going for science fiction because this author was extremely famous with their fantasy trilogy. And the book in question that is being released is called The Last Contract of Isako. And the author is Fonda Lee. Now, for the ones that don't know who Fonda Lee is, Fonda Lee was an author very famous for her Greenbone saga, which is a trilogy, which I don't know if you can see these three books here that I have. I have read the three books, which are Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. I've reviewed him on the channel. You can check out through the thumbnails, and I thought they were really good. First one, really good. Second, really good. Third one, a bit of a shake, but still good in quality. Now, The Last Contract of Isako is being released on May 5th, and it's a space opera. I know, it's a crazy change of genre for Fonda Lee. And I mean, we are here to read it because I think it's very exciting when authors try to expand their repertoire and go for a completely different style or genre just to see if they can write in situations in worlds like that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always interesting to see what they come up with. And the elevator pitch for this book is Corporate Samurai in Space. Okay, it definitely has the space opera to it. I don't know if it's a bit too sloppy, not sloppy, slocky, I'm making up words. If it's not too commercial for me, because I really enjoyed Fonda Lee's Greenbone saga because it was different, it was very distinct, it was Asian inspired, which there wasn't a lot when these books were released. So let's see what happens. I mean, I don't think there's much Asian inspired science fiction. I mean, we have, of course, the three-body problem, but only that I can immediately think of. Maybe some Ken Liu's short stories, but as you can see, there's not a lot. So maybe this will revolutionize science fiction. And I mean, knowing Fondly, she's going to explore some very good themes in her books because that happened in that trilogy, and I'm here for it. I want to read it and know what else she's been. And best of all, it's another standalone, so no commitment issues. You can just read it and then go back to fantasy if you prefer, or go back to other authors if you didn't enjoy it that much. And staying on science fiction, I know this first half of 2026 is very science fiction heavy. We're going to explore now an author that I've read, but I don't think I've ever mentioned them here on the channel, which is really bad of me because I think it was an amazing work and very pivotal, but the author I'm talking about is Lecky. And the book in question that is being released is called Radiant Star. Now, Lecky is very famous for her trilogy series, which is called Imperial Huts. And the books are Ancillary Mercy, Ancillary Sword, Ancillary Justice, if I'm not mistaken by the order. I know that Mercy is the first, the other two I'm not. Anyways, I read these books like more than 10 years ago, and I thought they were amazing back then. And I think they're still very, very good. I think they revolutionized a bit how we saw gender and also pronouns, things like that, because she wrote it in a way that I don't want to spoil, so I'm not going to say many details, but I'm just going to say it's very different and you should definitely. Now, Radiant Star, which comes out on the 12th of May, is set in the same universe, but is a standalone. And I'm not sure if you have to read the books or not to understand it. I'm guessing that there will be some details that you will miss if you haven't read at least the main trilogy, because there are other standalone books, but I don't think those will all connect to the same. And from what I can say, this book explores religion in a world that is pretty much being consumed by a bigger empire. I think Anne Leckie writes amazing themes in her books as well. I mean, all these authors that I mentioned, they do write really good themes, but Anne Leckie, Fondly are some of the best ones. And I'm also keen just to explore more of this world because, I mean, I read it 10 years ago. It's been more than enough time for me to go back and explore a bit more. Maybe I should read some of the standalone books while this one and just see if I still enjoy Enlightenment as much as I did. And finally, for our last release, we're going back into fantasy, and I bet many people already know about this book, so it'll be a bit defeating the point of me talking about it, but still, I believe that there will be at least one person who is clueless about it and will be like, oh my god, I had no idea this would come out. Because the author that this book is from is Brandon Sanderson, and of course, it is one of the biggest names in fantasy, and everyone knows about these news as soon as they come out. But the thing is, this book, which is called Songs of the Dead, is also written by Peter Arulian. Now, of course, Brandon Sanderson doesn't need introduction. I've read many books from him here on the channel. You can check out some of them. But Peter Arulian, you probably haven't heard, and that's because he's a musician first and foremost, and he's now. And why is he collabing with Brandon Sanderson? Well, who best to write a book about music than a musician, right? So if you're putting music together with rock and roll and magic from Brandon Sanderson, this is what this book will be about. I mean, at least that's what it says in the premise. This is pretty much a London where magic exists and it's related to music and it's just under everyone's view. For me, it's giving me a lot of un-London vibes to it. If you haven't read, it's from China Mieville. It's a really fun book. It's kind of, or maybe young adult book, but I thought it was a really sweet book, really funny and very imaginative as well. But that's China Mieville. His imagination is beyond the scale. And so I enjoyed that book. I bet I'm going to enjoy this one as well. I mean, everything Brandon Sanderson has written, nothing has disappointed. And I'm curious to see what collaborating with another author looks like for that writing. And yeah, this is the first book of a series called The Strata Wars. I have no idea how long this series will be, and I'm guessing it might be dependent on the success of this first book. This one is being released in June. I'm not entirely sure of the day, but just keep in mind June will be for this book. And I guess that's all the news I had to share. I mean, there are still other books that are going to be released, but I don't want to just flood with so many things that are being released that might not interest you. These are just some of the ones that caught my attention. And I'm quite curious to pick it up if I have the chance. But now I kind of want to know what you are considering for the biggest release of the first half of this year. What are the authors or books in specific that you're looking forward to? Comment down below and let me know. And of course, if you're new, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe, like the content, and you shall see me on Thursdays and Sundays. Okay? See you soon.